and its members. We ask for your attention and blessings. Lots of problems in the world, and we sure have our share here in little Santa Rosa County community. I would like you to use your special miracles for Jonah, the new baby of Katie Kiger, who in a normal delivery ended up being deprived of oxygen and is fighting for his life in the NICU as a hydrocephalus baby. We ask tonight that you give your special miracles to help this baby survive. Only you can do that. Oversee our military, our first responders in all areas of the world. And we know that life is hard. Propel us every day to remember it's just another step in front of the other. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. All right, we are going to start the agenda at item number 3 because we're not able to come to a conclusion. We just had a meeting about the health care, and very complicated, a lot of numbers. So we're going to meet again on that before we make a final decision. So let's see, we do have a quorum. We have all 6 of the current board members here. Audio and video recorders are in use. And we just asked that anyone to fill out the form, the sign-up form if they want to address the board. It's currently right here, but if you need to sign it, let us know. It was sitting out in the lobby. We have some employee recognitions. I always love these. We have a couple of them. I signed 3, though, I believe. Jeff, you want to go over these?
I do.
All right,
yeah,
perfect.
so tonight we're excited to recognize Justin Moxley, 25 years of service. So he's really a kind of a core member of our operations team. And even more than, just length of service, what's great is his attitude. He has a great attitude, always pitches in on everything. So like I said, just an unreplaceable member of our operations team, and we're thankful for his service. We'd like to recognize him tonight for 25 years of service. I think he's got some other gang here. I think they're here to support him, if I'm not mistaken, so that's good to see too. So thank you, Justin. And we're got this, we'll take a picture. Get this for you. Come up here, you want to do this, David?
That was bad.
Thank you, appreciate it. Piece of paper and a piece of glass.
That's awesome. Wow. Somebody. All right.
Thanks again. We also want to recognize Chip Doherty. He had to retire early. It was essentially a kind of a medical retirement, but he worked at our wastewater plant. Was a good employee for 10 years. So I don't believe he's here tonight, but I want to recognize him as well. So thank you, Chip, and we'll give him his recognition.
That's awesome. I always love to see that. We do have some long-serving individuals here at this company, that's for sure. Gives us some more stability. All right. Approval of minutes and transcripts from the July 2nd, 2025 meeting. We got to close executive session minutes, redacted, unredacted, and the July 15th regular monthly meeting and transcripts. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move for approval of the July 2nd, 2025 unredacted and redacted closed executive session minutes.
Second.
All right. And Mr. Miller. With a second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, hearing none, motion passes. Approval of memberships. We had new memberships in July with 334, canceled memberships with 327, and we had one transfer. We just need someone to approve the memberships.
Can we back up? I don't think the motion included approving the July 15th regular meeting minutes and transcripts.
Did we
Did
skip
it?
that?
No, it did not. I was going
Okay.
to submit a point of order, but Mark caught it.
All right, thank you.
I'll
Please back
move.
up.
I'll move for approval of the July 15th, 2025 minutes and transcripts, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds.
I'll second.
And thank you, Mr. Miller. So we have a motion and a second to approve the July 15th regular meeting minutes and transcripts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, guys. Now moving to the memberships.
I'll make a motion to approve the memberships as submitted.
All right.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the memberships for July. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. All right, so we're scooting down to item number 3, commercial system capacity review. Mr. Krigler.
Yes, thank you. So last month, we were directed to bring back to the board some information on this account related to the commercial system capacity fee review. We have done that. So in tab 3 there, under unfinished business, there's basically a memo summarizing the issue, as well as some backup documentation, historical documentation on the account. Kind of the two big questions that we were left with to kind of look into a little bit more was the existence of a leak on this member's account, and did it have an impact? We believe we'd answer that question as no. The leak was apparently reported, or based from what the member says, was in the spring of 2023. The commercial review program is looking at 2024 as the year that this is based on anyway. So really kind of irrelevant at this point, in my opinion. Of course, the other issue we also keep coming back to is the applicability of the sewer system capacity fees. We looked at several things. Director Reynolds had some ideas on ways to get around that, but really, at the end of the day, there's a big precedent issue here, and we just at the staff level just don't see a way to get around charging them the sewer system capacity fee. So the memo basically recommends 3 things. We either just have the member pay what's due. Option 2, we come up with some sort of either the regular financing or even an extended financing option if the board feels fit, or third, some alternate solution as determined by the board.
Hey, Jeff, real quick, what's the longest amount of time we've done financing for?
I don't know. 5 years. Barbara thinks 5 years.
5 years? I mean, that should be sufficient.
I think the basic is 2 years in the policy, but we've gone, so 5 would probably,
Okay.
that may be,
For a bigger commercial.
yeah, for a larger commercial account. So that may,
Okay.
you may
So
feel
we
that's
may be able to
beneficial.
offer him that.
Yeah.
Obviously, being a small business owner myself, I have some very serious sympathy for the situation here, but and I was thinking about this, and I'll share this with the rest of the board. He does take his whole business model is based around making ice, and so there's a lot of water use. But I was thinking about it too. We had a situation a few years ago. I think it was before I got on the board with someone that owned a coffee shop, and they were having to pay a substantial amount as well because of the amount of water they used. And it's sort of the same to me. It's like you're taking water to make coffee, you're taking water to make ice. I don't see any way we can go around this. This particular procedure process was put into place by a board, and they felt strongly about it. And at this point, we can't override that. So I think maybe offering him
Extended
an
funding,
extended
yeah.
amount of time to pay it off would, really, that's our only option.
I'd
I don't
like,
want to see the business suffer. I'm sorry.
Mr. President, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no problem.
I wanted to discuss this because in greater detail, because it has been mentioned, as you said, and in rebuttal to my submissions, that there are other businesses in this same dilemma in our district here. Now, the issue is, the pro is, if we can reasonably come up with some flexible options here, we can retain this business as a customer. The con is that if we do not give a little bit here, give any quarter, then we are going to lose this customer. As Mr. Kennedy stated last month, he will be forced to move out of our area because he can't afford to stay in business. I think that this makes it incumbent on us to be a little flexible in our view of one size fits all, this cookie cutter prototype that we've established, and we're saying we're immovable because a previous board made this determination. I think this opens us up to maybe making some flexible adjustments. And one of the 4 options that I had found being utilized in California, Arizona, and I'm trying to think. I believe it was Wichita, is something called sub-metering, where they install a separate meter on the water line, which deducts the metered water that is not going to go to the wastewater treatment plant. Now, whether that is something the customer ponies up the money for that installation, that would make sense if they're willing to do that. But I think this hard and fast, it's our way or the highway, is just not conducive to the company that we are, and that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, as a board, we certainly have the authority to make these concessions. If we were to do that, it would have to be across the board. I mean, we could, hypothetically, we could take all the businesses that do turn water into their sellable product, like the ice and the coffee, and but then it gets complicated.
Well, yeah, it gets
I agree with you.
complicated,
I
but
hate
it's
to be
inequitable the way it is, and we're saying,
It
well,
is.
we've got a way of doing things, and we are not going to change that. So the result could be that we're going to lose customers that will have to go to Okaloosa County because they can't exist within the confines of our limited ability to be flexible. That's all I'm saying. I just had to bring this to the board and bring this to the public so that they know there are other options here that we could actually look at. And this is done in the food and beverage industry. They say large industrial was the rebuttal to me, but actually in smaller water systems in these other states, this has been done.
What do other utilities, how do they handle it? Because they have capacity fees as well.
So municipalities have essentially a building department, building permit process. So when a facility expands, the building department knows, goes and talks to the utility department. We're not affiliated with the county, so the
Right.
board at that time came up with this way to track that usage. And as businesses grow or change over time, that's how they chose to address that. I would say about the sub-metering, as Director Reynolds mentioned, it's not impossible to do, but it would require, significant policy implementation and a change the way we do things. And in this case, that you'd have to, for us to read a meter, it's got to be where the other meter is. It'd be a major rework of this member's plumbing. It'd be very expensive. And any policy like this, those costs are going to be on the member to implement their sub-meter and to have all that plumbing work done. So on an existing establishment, it would be very expensive as well. So,
Do you have a ballpark on what that might
oh,
run?
no, I've not looked at we have not looked at the layout or anything of what that might look like. But, yeah, there's just a lot of policy implications, and we have to work through that, to see if that's something we want to get into. But the standard is, people are charged they're charged their sewer based on the water that they use. That's the standard. And like I said, if you have a large industrial discharge, that's where you get into looking to measure the wastewater to see the impact on the wastewater system. Standard practice, we don't, it's just 1 meter and the sewer's based on the water.
I'll start at you, Fish. I also feel compelled at this point in time, since the board has turned over quite a bit, some of you will recall that we actually operate under 2 water use permits. Holly Navarre has its own water use permit that allows withdrawal of water within our franchise area, but we also operate under Fairpoint's water use permit. There are specific requirements in the Fairpoint that prevent these types of uses, specifically by language, we're prevented from selling irrigation meters. The intent of that, of course, is you non-potable uses of water, have to be eliminated. I would suggest that if we, I'm sure Will's going to follow up because we bounced this back and forth with the department several times. I think any situation where you separate potable water from wastewater would have to be at least run by the department to make sure it doesn't go afoul of the requirements on the current system. And quite frankly, to answer your question, I have 2 meters on my house in Pensacola. I run a lot of water through one of those meters to irrigate my yard. I don't pay a penny for wastewater on that meter. And the other meter is what goes into the house. We can't do that here. Those types of segregation aren't allowed here because of the area of critical concern. So,
And all of that came into play when we were discussing giving people a break on filling swimming pools.
yes,
We determined that we would be in violation of our permit if we gave people that kind of break, because that would be giving them a break on the non-potable water use, and that would have been against our permit. And I was opposed to that at the time, but, it didn't seem fair to me to charge people sewage rates for filling their pools when it's not getting treated by the sewer. But that's what our permit says, and we have to stick to that. So,
So again, I'm not saying this specific case is addressed specifically within that permit, but I feel like if that were the kind of decision the board were going to make, then it would have to be run by the department to make sure it's not a problem.
Which department? DEP?
No, this is Water Management District.
Water Management District. And you spoke about the delineation between water that goes to the wastewater treatment plant and irrigation.
Yes, we are specifically, there's other language too, and I don't have it open here in front of me, but I was actually looking at it yesterday or whenever we were talking about this.
You said Fairpoint.
The Fairpoint permit applies to Holly Navarre water system. The Fairpoint permit has requirements of the 4 entities served by Fairpoint. We have to comply with both of those permits. The Fairpoint permit contains the conservation measures that are placed upon the utilities that operate under Fairpoint for conservation purposes. And it specifically prevents us from having irrigation meters. It also has some language about other non-potable uses too, which I couldn't quote you sitting here. But essentially, they are using that to penalize any type of non-potable use such that we minimize our water use. That's what they're doing.
Even though it's not technically irrigation purposed.
Again, this conversation we're we're having about 125 gallons of ice being created in this gentleman's business may not be addressed. The department may say, we don't care. I just don't know. But I do feel like it's, Will tell you he got involved in a couple of cases of this, and it just gets deep in whatever their interpretation of the rules are.
Does
Directors,
anyone
would-
know what that monthly water bill is for that particular business?
Oh, I have
Not
no
off the top of
idea.
my head, but
Well, the thing about it is that he started out when he took over the ownership. He started out at what,
1 year.
1 point, yeah, 1 area. So then the next year, and that was just from June until December. And then just that length of time, he went from 1 to 1.9, which was 10% more than the 1. It looks like consistently he's been running maybe 2.4 EURs for the last maybe 2 years. So that's what he needs to be capped at. Is that what he will be
that's what
paying
we're bringing
on?
him up to. That's the point of this.
So he won't be charged the 10% overage unless he goes over that 2.4.
It would adjust his account to the 2.4, and then that would be his baseline.
Right. Now, what I don't, is that $8,000? I looked through the stuff. Is that $8,000
It's not.
for?
That's what he would pay right there, for the water and the
Sewage.
total.
Okay, 9,000. Is that for the year?
That would be for.
It's just a one-time fee.
It's a
One-time
fee,
deal?
yeah.
Okay.
And,
It was a
Until he,
2-year plan
well, yeah, the
initially.
other two things to keep in mind is that the members notified, well, he was notified when
Right.
he started the business, when he first came in, and the system engineer agreed to say, okay, you can continue with the 1 ERU, even though it looked like it should be a little higher. Then he went through the review process, was notified. There was multiple opportunities to adjust the usage, and the usage has increased,
And he
steadily.
was
So
given 1
which is,
year. Yeah.
more business, which is good for him, but that would subject him to this policy. The other thing, and Phil touched on it, but it's worth reiterating, is the member kind of alluded to the quantity he's using, the 5 25-gallon buckets, or whatever that is, works out to 125 gallons. Well, he's using 700 and something gallons a day, so there obviously is a good bit going down the drain. So I think the argument that it's not going down the drain, I don't even think we're seeing that in the numbers. So based on what he said, that wasn't based on anything we did. So just, a couple more points of information there.
Well, that was the point that I wanted to point out for the directors is just that issue. I don't think it's an issue of what is being used for potable water or selling the water. It's actually water use, and it goes to your commercial impact policy that you have in place. Of course, that's a policy that you as a board can change, but it's a policy that you put in place to allow for the members to do exactly what this business has done, and that is grow. And that, as Pam pointed out, this member started, and I think it's important to look at your system engineer. When he first started this business, there was a negotiation with him about the number of ERUs that he was going to be assessed. He could have been assessed 2, and his baseline would have been higher. But and you will see that this was in June of 2022, and the customer, the person who's talking to us, signed this. This was an agreement that he signed with the water company, and I think it's instructive to see the system engineer says, now additional impact fees will be due in the future should the average usage of this account exceed 300 gallons a day. The usage will be reviewed annually as part of Holly Navarre Water Systems Commercial Impact Review Policy, a copy of which may be found on our website. This was in 2022, and you review these accounts annually. And we have had some painful discussions with members in the initial stage of implementing this policy 2 and 3 years ago, in which these were large numbers because their usage was low. Their tap fee usage buy-in was too low. Right. And one could argue that this was the case here. He should have been charged more and his baseline would have been higher. He was not, but he has grown his business great. And as a result, you've charged him for more water, great, that's the business we're both in. And so it's very consistent with your policy and very consistent with the notice that you've given your members.
And also, I want to say, we did notify him and let him know that he was using more. He had gotten up to 1.9, and that they had given him a year, 12 months, to look and see if maybe he had a leak or something was wrong, and he did not respond to that. And what I want to know is that 8,000, is that just for the 1 year, or was that for 2 years?
It's a total to bring
So
the
you
account
just
to
took
that
it, okay, in the
level.
10%, I gotcha. Because I kept looking at how much he was using every, year, and what it was coming to.
The latest number was 2.4.
But I don't see where he has made an attempt to even work with us on making payments on this, or working with us in any way.
He hasn't paid this yet, correct?
He has not paid it. We're working with him by
We're trying to
allowing
work with him
him
at this
to,
point.
to extend essentially, we have all these accounts for 2025.
Right.
They're all resolved. This is the last
Oh, this is the
outstanding
last
one.
one, okay,
And,
I got
and
you.
we're working with him, but we were letting him know that, hey, we need to bring this to a close.
Right.
You didn't like the answer you're getting from staff, come talk to the board. He did that in July,
understand
so
that.
here we are, trying to bring it to final resolution.
Yeah.
And there were actually very few people that owed money
We
this
had,
year.
we had 11 this year. Actually, a couple of those were coffee shops. We're gonna have a coffee shop. It's gonna be an issue this next year. We already know that from what we're seeing with some of the flow numbers. It's the same thing. And those folks paid.
It's really only the new people that have come in, and just a reminder Will touched on it, Hauling of our water system has taken the position of being very liberal on impact fees when you come in here. If we went by the letter of the thing and used the state's definition of, faucets and toilets, the impact fees would be much more than they are. We allow, people to provide evidence that their use could be lower. We do that. Hauling of Bar does that because you can say it, and if you're right, great. We don't want to charge you any more than you need to be charged. But if you're wrong and we've let you do that, then you're going to get caught, at the end of the day, by the policy itself.
Yeah.
So
And
Go ahead, Mark.
to defend the policy, it's a fair way of treating everybody, you're paying for what you actually use. And, the engineers may give somebody a little bit of a leeway when they first come in, like they did in this situation. But, when someone is actually using more than what they paid for, then the fair thing to do is to charge them for what they're using, so that, everybody's paying for what they use. It's a policy that keeps it fair across the board. I've got to defend the policy. I think it's a fair way of doing business and treating our customers. It's not even though it seems like, we're coming to them and asking them for more money, it's because they're using more than what they paid for.
Is there a loophole then in the narrative explanation of these capacity fees? If his understanding was, why should he be charged for water that's not going to the wastewater treatment plant to be processed? Hearing the restrictions that Bill talked about from the Northwest Florida Water Management District as well as Fairpoint Regional Utility System, is it incumbent upon us to tighten that narrative justification for the capacity fees so that these type of loophole questions don't come up?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I will note that in the system engineer's letter of June 13th of 2022, he explains both the water impact fee and sewer impact fee, and he provides the detailed calculation of both based on a restaurant with the number of seating and the number of square feet, and he provides it for both. So restaurants who are operating under commercial impact fee pay for water and pay for sewer. And both of those were very clearly laid out in that agreement that the owner member signed.
So I'll just say a couple things real quick, and then let's wrap this up. Well, first of all, we're all Holland Bar Water System members, so we're all impacted with everybody, make sure everybody pays their fair share. I pay my fair share. I did when I had my business and so forth. So he's a member now because he's in the community, and it's, as the policies are written today, I don't see any leeway for us to do anything else except for extend his credit. That's what I'm proposing to do. Now, I'm not opposed to reviewing the policy, this board reviewing the policy and maybe making some kind of adjustments to the formula. If you're having a situation where you have a business that 80 or whatever percent of their sales are because of the water that they buy, like coffee, the ice, beer, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to looking at that, but as it stands right now, I would propose that we talk to him and see what he's willing to do. If he wants to do 4 years, 5 years, I think we should give him up to 5 years. But that's just where the policy is right now.
I think I'm prepared to make a motion on this. I'd like to offer him the option of financing this up to 5 years under the normal financing guidelines that we have in place, but not waive any of the additional impact fees that are due.
Second.
Can you restate that, Director Miller?
I will. I'd like to offer the member the option of financing the amount of system capacity fees that are due over 5 years instead of the, what is it, norm 2 years? 2. Yeah, I'd like to extend the offer to him to finance that over 5 years, since we've done that in the past, but not waive any of the system capacity fees that are due.
Mr. Krigler, could you state for that motion the amount that is due?
$9,107.40.
All right. Okay.
The letter on January 1st, or January 31st, I guess, that was sent, shows an amount due of $5,930. Oh, no, that's the total. Never mind. I'm not adding the two numbers together. My bad.
So Director Miller, will you incorporate that figure, $9,107.40 in your motion?
Yes, I amend my motion to incorporate that figure.
Second.
All right. So, Mark and Mike. All right, we have a motion on the table. Let me see if I can get this right. To offer the owners of Jeremiah Ice the option of financing for up to 5 years for the extra system capacity fees that they owe. That would be an amount of $9,107.40, but not to waive any of the charges. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
All right. And we have 5 ayes, 1 nay, so the motion passes. All right. Again, maybe we should come back around, take a look at that procedure. All right, new business. Here we go, next step here, new business. Mr. Krigler.
Yes, a couple of quick items. You'll notice what's not in your packet, and that is the election packet we typically present. We'll be planning on presenting that in September. The other item related to that is we may need to reschedule the committee meetings that the directors attend on September the 11th. That's the date of the proposed hearing. I don't believe we have that exact time yet, but Emerald will follow up with y'all if we need to reschedule those committee meetings because of that conflict there.
Hey, real briefly, Mr. Dunaway, will we know beforehand if we're going to be called to testify, or since we're on that list, we'll have to be?
No, you'll know.
You'll know in advance, okay?
Yeah, I'll have, Mr. Traywick will have a final witness list by the time, and you'll know.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Go
I
ahead,
have
Jeff,
a
I'm
couple of
sorry.
quick ones. So we were able to issue our latest, I guess, quarterly newsletter. It's on our website if anyone wants to take a look at that. And I also came across today that the county has put out, I guess, the results of their PD&E study for the Navarre Community Access Road. So the PD&E is the process that the transportation projects go through. Is really essentially a preliminary environmental and design task to look at the feasibility of options and what option they want to carry forward. So they started that in 23. In September, they're going to finalize that study. Design and construction is not funded, but it would be a major project for Navarre, and it would have impacts on us. Essentially, they're looking at that corridor through Leisure Street. And then on the other side of 87, High School Road and Deer Lane is my understanding of the route all the way to Panhandle. So what I'll have Emerald do is send that link to the board members. And it has a couple maps you can look at. I think it's good just to understand where that project's at and what might happen. As I mentioned, design and construction is not funded, so we're years away from that thing becoming a reality if it gets funded. But the fact that they completed the PD&E means it could be a real project. And then they're looking at it. So there's even a whole section on utility impacts. I've got to review that. Like I said, I just came across that report today. They're calling it a virtual project review or virtual public comment or something where you can go online on the county website and look at all the documents. So anyway, like I said, I'll have Emerald forward that to the directors for anyone that has interest in looking at that.
Oh, that'd be great, thank you.
And that was it.
All right, moving on down to director's update. We'll start with Ms. Hardy, Finance Committee update.
Okay, the Finance Committee met Thursday, August 14th to review the financial reports for June concerning the capital improvement projects as well as comparison between the budget and operating and maintenance expenses. Water sales revenues have increased, and that's partly due to the rate increase that took effect in March. Miscellaneous wastewater revenue increased due to a payment from a developer for a line extension in May. Overall, revenues are slightly under budget at 49%. Total expenditures for general and admin expenses as well as water and wastewater expenses have decreased in comparison to last year. And then Carmen will give an update on the capital improvements, and then Mark will give an update on the operating and maintenance budget to actual.
All right. Ms. Reynolds.
Okay. Nothing significant to report. The unrestricted funds are expended for wastewater treatment plant issues. We stand at 13%. The other area is the restricted, and we are 22% expended at this point. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Ms. Miller.
Yeah, Budget Committee met, and, this is through June, through the end of June, and so, the numbers should be, 50% of budget if we're, tracking right in line with the year. And our revenues were at 48 and 49% of budget, so we're just, like 1 or 2% off of where our revenues should be according to the budget. And the good news is expenses were only at about 44% of the budget for our total expenses. So overall, our net income is right where it should be.
Nice. All right. Mr. Matthews, you have anything about the pension 401k plans?
No,
All right.
it's boring. Barbara sends me the snapshot and you
Yep.
look at a bunch of numbers and everything looks fine.
We
Nothing
haven't,
negative
we
to
haven't met in
report.
a couple of months. We'll probably get together
Okay.
in September, October for sure.
All right. And the reuse project, I'm going to defer this one to Mr. Krigler. We're still at a standstill on a lot of this project, right?
Well, all the pipeline outside of the federal property is installed. They're still completing the pump station at the wastewater treatment plant. And then we still have that one piece of easement that we're trying to obtain on Eglin Air Force Base. So really all the progress now, construction progress is going to be at the plant on that pump station, and then resolving this final piece with Eglin as well.
Thank you. And we're going to jump back to Mr. Miller, the Club at Hidden Creek Management Board.
Yeah, the Club at Hidden Creek Management Board met and had a really good meeting. June and July were very good months. In fact, the first week of July set an all-time record revenue, and the month of July was $33,000 over our budget. So very, for revenues, was very good. And then year to date, we're about $100,000 over last year's revenue amount. So the Club at Hidden Creek is financially doing really well. The work on the cart paths that we approved last month has begun. And then a good thing to point out is our year-to-date spray field costs through July are only 31% of the budget. So we're way under budget on our spray field costs out there. So everything's running really good out at the golf course.
Nice.
Director Miller, can I ask, I saw in the reports that there was some vandalism in one of the areas of the course. Do we have any cameras out there?
I think they have put some cameras out there. There was some vandalism to the bathrooms at one point this year, and I think they relocated some cameras. I don't know if they've been successful at catching anybody or anything, but they're on it. They are working that.
Yeah, and I
Thank you.
think what Haynes was able to do is put in what's called those wildlife cameras that are very economical. So he's able to keep an eye on that area, and it was not a high cost at all. So
I think it's maybe a one-time thing that happened, but they do need to make sure that we don't let that kind of thing happen again.
And I guess that there's been some turnover with regard to that corner on 399 where the Hidden Creek Estate sign was. That is actually our land. And a couple of the folks that live out at Holly by the Sea had called me, and I talked with Mr. Krigler, and they're concerned about the upkeep of that entrance.
Jeff, you had a meeting with
we
some
did.
Holly-
We met with the Holly by the Sea. Sorry, the Holly by the Sea HOA reps last Wednesday. Had a good meeting, and the main point of that meeting was really talking about what we might do with that sign. You are correct that they had notified us either last year or maybe 18 months ago that property was in fact ours, and they had been maintaining it, so they decided to stop maintaining it. So that meeting was really to, once again, we may change that sign or make some revisions to it because it doesn't mention the golf course. It talks about the estates at Hidden Creek. So there's no reason for us to have that sign necessarily. But we wanted to meet with them to be a good neighbor and just tell them what we were thinking, and as we might be making some modifications to that sign, and then also we will be continuing and improving the maintenance on that island.
Do we have any time frame where we're going to put some mulch and some maybe vegetation and flowers out there?
So we're not planning to do an extreme landscaping effort. We do want to weed it, which that's probably what the main concern is weeds. Of course, the more landscaping and things you put out there, the more maintenance is, and that's so there's a fine line there. So I think we would like to make it look presentable, but not overdo it. We're not going to not going to make it look like Disney World. So that's the current plan.
Do we have a time frame? I got a call again today about it.
I don't have it off the top of my head. I have to speak with Haynes about that.
All right, thank you.
Was there any suggestion about selling that piece of property to them?
So what we had talked about was getting the county to take it, but there was some issues with that, and we kind of decided not to go down that route. Because a lot of, it's really in the right of way. That whole island's in the right of way. But that didn't go anywhere, so I think we're pretty much, they don't want to buy it. They're very cost conscious right now, and they don't want anything to do with anything involving extra cost.
Yeah.
Just to confirm that we don't have a lease with folks who have a sign on our property.
There's no agreement. Apparently it was verbal agreements, and that's why we meant to meet with them to explain that.
Right, I just wanted
Yeah,
to point
thank
that
you.
out.
Yep.
We have no agreement,
Yeah.
therefore we have no duty to maintain that sign, and you're not leasing the sign back to them, which could pay for the landscaping if that's what you wanted to do. But it's a piece of land that you own,
Right.
that they have a sign on, that they were maintaining, and that they're not now maintaining.
Gotcha.
But it's also to our benefit to have an aesthetic sign there publicizing the existence of the club at Hidden Creek, which we can directly benefit from, where folks traveling from the east won't necessarily know that there's a golf course there unless they maybe see a sign.
Well, they'll see
Well, there's a
go
hole
through there.
on the road.
They'll see me in the sand trap.
And the golf balls flying over their car.
I'll sit in the car. All right, we're going to move on to the Fairpoint Regional Utility System, Mr. Craig.
I don't have anything new to report on Fairpoint at
All
this
right.
time.
All right, Municipal Engineering Services, Mr. Phil Phillips.
Well, and the big news this past month, we actually hired a very junior engineer.
Nice.
She starts,
Congratulations.
she starts September 29th, so we look forward to her getting here and starting to work.
That's awesome. Been looking for what, a couple of years now?
What's that?
You've been looking for a couple of years now, right?
Longer
than that.
We've been looking for 7, 8 years, really,
7,
if you
8,
want to know
wow.
the truth.
And to add to your comment, Mr. Phillips, University of West Florida must have been listening to your lament because they are starting a civil engineering program.
Yes, we've known that was coming for a while, but it did hit the newspaper not too long ago that this fall is the first semester of the civil engineering program out there, so.
Good. Good. All right, let's move on to finance. A review of quarterly 2025 financials. Mr. Kugler and Barbara.
All right, so through June, we have total revenue of $1,365,698. Total expenses of $1,054,268 with a total net operating income of $311,430. And through, actually year-to-date June, total operating income is $1,246,012. So pretty good year so far.
Nice. Nice.
I'll make a motion to approve the June and quarterly financial statements as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any more discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Mark? All right, we're going to operations next. The influent pump station replacement pump. Mr. Krigler.
Yeah, so at the plant, all the raw wastewater flow comes into what's called the influent pump station. So it all comes in there, pumped up to the headworks. That pump station is served by two rather large pumps. We don't have a spare. If one of those pumps were to fail, the other one would struggle to keep up, and it's just not a situation we want to be in. So we think buying a spare makes sense. What we would do is purchase this pump, put this pump in operation, pull one of the old ones out, get it rehabbed, and keep that as a spare in inventory. So this one would go right into service. The lead time on that pump is like 22 weeks, so that kind of just shows that even more the need to have a spare. Is lead time on these large pumps is still pretty high. So this is a critical point of failure at the plant, so we think it's important to have a spare here. So we're recommending the sole source purchase of that pump from Pump and Process. Of course, the reason it's sole source is we want to match the other two pumps exactly, flow and head conditions.
Jeff, let me ask you, is this coming from the capital improvement budget?
It would be in the unrestricted under the general WWTP repairs item, and we have plenty of funds available in that item.
Okay.
I think total wastewater expenses were only at about 40% at the
Right.
end of June, so
Yeah,
we're under budget
operations
so
side.
far. So this would fit within budget, I think.
Correct.
All right, any discussion or questions from the board? It seems like a no-brainer to me, especially if we're looking at 22 weeks before we can even get it.
And for clarification, Mr. Krigler, you said it was sole source, so it needed to match the current make and models, so Pump and Process supplied the previous.
They're the
pump.
current supplier of that pump. I don't know
Oh, okay.
if they were the supplier when it was purchased.
Yeah, I can't remember whether they had that
It's
line.
likely they were, but I don't know.
I don't remember.
Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the sole source purchase of the WWTP influent pump station replacement pump?
So
for Pump and
moved.
Process
Second.
for the amount of $52,321.40. I have Ms. Reynolds made a motion, and Mr. Matthews second that. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion passes. All right, then we go down to engineering one more time with Mr. Phillips. You have anything else?
Not anything specific. We continue not to believe the I&I numbers that are on the wastewater sheet. And I don't think we have the leak information in here again because we continue to have problems with the software. So I would assume sometime before long, there's going to be 5 or 6 of us that lock ourselves in a room and try and figure out what's really going on there. I'm not even certain. At one time, I believe the wastewater number was wrong, but I'm not even sure that the water number's not wrong at this point in time. So I'm not sure which side of the equation is the issue.
Okay.
Mr. Phillips, does it have anything to do with the software that we currently have, the Edmund software?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
We
and-
believe that's part of the problem. We
On the
don't-
reporting side, not on the physical side of things, just on the reporting side.
Correct.
Reporting side.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll follow up with a question to Mr. Dunaway, which I just find incredulous, but maybe you can explain. We paid about $220,000 for this software that's not successfully working, and evidently the help desk is not helpful and can't resolve some of the issues that the staff is having. Is there any conciliatory settlement, even a few bucks on the members' behalf that we could get out of this non-performing software that we purchased in good faith, and now we're going to have to do new software?
Unknown. I don't know the answer to that question. The software contract is written very favorably to the provider. The performance issues have been well documented. We can certainly attempt. We could go as far as to, sue them. But again, you would be litigating, you would be defending in a jurisdiction, probably not this jurisdiction because of the contract. So it's a cost-benefit analysis. But to answer your question specifically, I do not know. We have not been tasked with litigating or talking with them in a way to resolve. We've looked at the cost. I mean, we've looked at the contract. We've looked at what that might involve, and it would be a lawsuit in a different jurisdiction.
Yeah, I think another way of saying it is Mr. Dunaway and I talked about how to go forward, how to involve him or not, and the recommended option or the recommended route seemed to be, based on the contract, we should probably just start looking elsewhere, and that engaging him to do something either may have low chances of success, or the minute we do that, this is still the entity who's running our billing software. We got to have a functioning system. So there's some issues there too. So it was a very sensitive issue. We discussed it and did not choose to go further at the time. I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth.
No, I mean, that's right. I mean, the sensitivity was that, you know, we rely on this software, and it is providing a service that we can't do without, even though it's not doing everything that we thought it was supposed to do. That some of that is their fault, some of that is an expectation issue, and, you know, that's where we stood on the issue of, you know, how we would go forward.
And one of the lessons learned going forward is going to be much stronger contract.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, and we looked at that. We've looked at it in a couple of different of these national contracts. You may recall the issue with the GPS. I mean, these contracts are not written in a way that they're necessarily unfavorable to those who are providing you the service. You don't have a lot of negotiating power with, you know, revising their contract, and they certainly don't go over your contract. So there is a lot of caveat emptor, buyer beware issues with regards to these big software changes. You know, you're not the only one going through a big software change, and they're not always, you know, working as advertised. But again, I know that from a budgeting and billing perspective, the company is relying on the software, and it is doing what we hoped it would do. It's not doing everything we hoped it would do, and maybe we don't stay with them. Maybe we look at somewhere else.
I'm just disappointed that something that cost us almost $250,000, that we don't get any concessions out of it at the end, not even a small percentage. That was just my personal feelings. Thank you.
Seems like we could decide to have our attorney send them a letter, you know, kind of nicely worded, but also letting them know how unhappy we are with it. Seeing if there's anything they could do. I mean,
Would that jeopardize the current workings, Mr. Krigler?
It might.
It might.
And I think from the staff's point of view, we've kind of already made up our mind to move on. So there's nothing, I mean, they're going to offer service or additional things. They're not, certainly, they may offer money, but I would doubt it. So.
Well, that would be a great concession. So what we're hearing you say is, after the move is made to another well-researched and well-written contract, that we should consider maybe doing a letter at that time.
I'm willing to have that discussion with Mr. Dunaway again, absolutely, at that time.
Yeah, we can certainly look to that. Again, it was a well-written contract. It's just a well-written contract in favor of the person that offered the services, of which we didn't have a lot of input. It was the services, and this is our contract. And again, it's working in the way that, you know, the billing and I mean, your entire system is operating under this program. It's not doing everything you wanted, but it's certainly running your company. And that is the concern that staff has, I think, in trying to be antagonistic at this point. You certainly, and we, I think, staff has very well documented our dissatisfaction with the performance shortcomings, and we've made that well known. And these companies obviously, work because their product works, and other utilities rely on referrals, of which we would probably not provide a favorable referral or satisfaction on that, and that may or may not be beneficial for us on the bottom line, but certainly going to be helpful or unhelpful for the provider.
Points well made and well taken. I will shut up.
I want to thank you. We're going to get to the next portion of the meeting, which is the member forum. I've got Mr. Thiel and Mr. Linnell on. Do y'all still? We'll call Mr. Bill Thiel up first.
Bill Teal, 2842 PGA, and I just say up front, I don't really have a dog in this fight one way or the other, but it was either March or April where the board approved the installation of some GPS boxes on the carts at Hidden Creek to be comparable to what other courses in the area have done, and also it's a great assistance to the maintenance folks out there. That was approved pending, subject to legal review. It's now August and nothing seems to be happening. I was just wondering if I could get an update on the status of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so essentially it was approved and there's some additional concerns came up. It has been discussed recently at the management board meetings. At the time that the board approved it, that was that winter time frame where weather was bad, there wasn't a lot of traffic out there. And I've been telling the staff at the course, y'all are having a great year. We think we can reopen this discussion very soon. That's what we've been talking about at the management board meetings. Because their numbers are good this year. And I think we also failed to highlight the maintenance side benefits of that software. I think we presented it mostly as, the golfers are going to love this. Well, that's true. It's also going to really help our staff track the carts, keep the carts out of places they're not supposed to go. The Golf Pro the other day had a picture of someone running all over the greens or something. So that's the kind of stuff that's not going to happen when you have this, because it'll restrict that movement. So there's like I said, there's operational benefits to it as well as the customer benefits. So we'd like to revisit the issue. We know there was concerns after it was approved, and that's kind of where it is now.
And there were some concerns with the contract as well, right? There was some stuff that.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and revisit that, because I think Will kind of alluded to it. We looked at it. I don't think there was any major contract issues. I think it was more just a timing thing. And
was it about replacing defective product or having defective product?
I'd have to go back and
there's something that had to do with that was not favorable for the golf course, and then we kind of was like, wait, maybe
you don't own it.
Negotiate.
You don't own it. It's a lease.
Right.
You don't own it, and there was no indication that the warranty was going to be covered by the people that you were in contract with.
That's what
the contract indicated you were entering a contract, and the folks that you were entering into a contract said, "Don't worry, the manufacturer covers it," but we're not in privity with the manufacturer. So we had no assurance that if it didn't work, that we've got a new one, because they didn't say that, and we went back to try to get that clarification.
Yeah, the lease entity is just the financial entity.
They were simply a financing company.
Correct, and they provided a response, but that was about the same time there were some other concerns, and we put it on hold. Mm-hmm. So let me just dig that back out. I don't have that in front of me and don't remember what they said, so I'll bring that back.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that.
Mr. President, and maybe right now is an appropriate time to bring this up. I had prepared a background paper on restoring the golf course to its former legacy. I was unaware that it was the top course in Northwest Florida in 2015. It was premiered in Golf Digest. It was also a location for the U.S. Open qualifier. This was the top course in Northwest Florida as voted by the Pensacola News-Journal, and I had identified many things that we could do to restore it to its former legacy, but I was told that we are on hold with this until the cessation of the Eglin Reuse Project. And my view is, rather than do this piecemeal, we could actually turn that golf course into a mega revenue generator, and I have a listing of each individual line item where we would make those improvements. So I would just like to say that rather than do this piecemeal, why don't we look at it as the entirety of what a cash cow it could really be? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. We're going to recognize Mr. Don Linnell.
Thanks, Mr. President. Don Linnell, 2586 Second Court. Sorry, always get those numbers mixed up sometimes. So I put on there I was going to talk about the election process, but there wasn't really anything to talk about, so I'm going to take a little bit of the time just to talk about I can't remember the name of the ice company, but not about that. The only thing that hit me, and I think it was Carmen that made the comment, is this is going to be, whether it was a case or another case of we're going to lose a business to Okaloosa County, something along those lines. So I hope that's not a true statement. I hope that can't be a true statement if I'm going to take this exact same footprint and business plan and move it one county over and be profitable. I hope that's not true. If it is, because they have tax subsidies or whatever, I don't know. I just remember, seeing what our rates were compared to others in the days. We were kind of in the middle. I don't remember being way up on the top. So I'm not asking for a solution or an answer, unless Phil wants to get up and say, well, it's this. But I'm also okay with you saying, Don, you don't know what the heck you're thinking about, sit down. But I just didn't like that thought that a business could go from here to Okaloosa or to Escambia and be profitable, but they can't here because of us. So I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I think she was referring to maybe just moving this business to another water.
I don't believe the member said that. I think she was just speculating what might happen.
Okay.
Oh, he did say that last month.
He did say something about it.
He said, you all are going to force me to relocate my business.
But Don, I think you're right. We looked at those numbers a number of times, and we are not the highest at any stretch of the imagination. So I can't imagine him doing that into another water district and not paying as much as he's going to have to pay here.
And you said it more correctly than I did. I mean, that was the statement that came out going over to Okaloosa. But the real point is, if you can go to another water district and be profitable and not here, I hope that's not true.
Yeah, I don't think it is. But, all right. Any other member want to get up and address the board? All right. I don't see any, and I think it's time to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I got a motion in 2 seconds. Meeting is adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.